What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the Cold War Files. I'm your host, Ghost, and today I'm gonna tell you guys two stories about the Ouija board and their personal experiences. So the Ouija board was patented in 1840 by a businessman by the name of J. Elijah Bond, and it was actually marketed by the Kenner Novelty Company. And it was pretty much a polished version of a game called the Talking Board. So it was, and the reason why this guy got the bright idea, there was a really big spiritualism movement during the 19th century that hit the US and the UK, or all of Europe actually. And it went on from 1840 to the 1920s. So that's a long time. And these guys, basically, Elijah Bond wanted just to capitalize on it. It doesn't really say much, but I'm sure he made his money out of it. A lot of ever since coming out in certain movies like The Exorcist, it pretty much cemented its like spooky reputation. Christians would ban it, basically saying it invited demonic possession. A town in New Mexico literally burned those Ouija boards along with Harry Potter books in 2001. Said it because it was obviously bad, demonic. But if not, that's a little bit about the history. And after seeing them in The Exorcist, after that it boomed. Now I'm gonna tell you about the time that I actually bought one. All right, let's get into it. So I worked. Man, I remember being in high school. I think I got my work permit at 14, and I started working. It's funny because of my other story. I started working at a winery basically just as like a dishwasher. But I would get money, and then like a kid, it obviously burns a hole in your pocket. So I would head to Walmart, right? And I remember when I went. This is before I got my paycheck. It's funny, I remember it like that. I went to Walmart and I was going through all the toy sections, and um, I think I was looking. I forgot what I was looking for. I think I was looking for like a type of car, like one of the Dub edition cars. I was looking for, I think, a Chrysler 300 or something like that. But I was coming across where they sell all the board games, one of the aisles. And as I was walking, I saw it said Mystic Board in like bluish and green, like dark blue and green color. I'm gonna try to, if I can find a picture of it, I'll put it up on the screen. But I saw it and I picked it up and I saw that it was a Ouija board. And I'm like, what? They actually sell these here? Yeah, I didn't have money at the time, like I said, for my paycheck. So I wanted to actually buy it. And right then and there, I was gonna ask my mom. I was with my mom at the time, and for some reason, I just didn't. So a few days go by, I had my paycheck, and I remember two of my cousins came down to visit from up north, from Mendocino County. And when they got there, we were basically bored. We didn't know what to do. And then I got the bright idea, right? Like, hey, did you know that Walmart sells a Ouija board? And both of my cousins didn't believe me. They're like, no, why would they sell it? And I told them, like, that's what I said. I'm like, why? I thought that was, as a kid, you're told that thing is really bad. You see it in movies. So for some reason in my head, I thought it was legal. So I told my cousin, there are two brothers. We're gonna call the older one G and the younger one A. And basically, I just told G, I'm like, hey, let's go to Walmart and I'll show you guys. I'll even buy it. And so we made our way over there. And then I showed him it, and it's funny because it was the last one. And I feel like someone was like hiding it. Maybe they were gonna come back and buy it themselves because it was tucked behind some other board games like Candyland, I think. And so I grabbed it and I went to go pay for it. I remember it was like $20 to $24, something like that. I think it was like 25 bucks, something like that. So I bought it and we went back to my house, and I think it was my dad. My dad saw it, told my mom, my mom basically just kind of told us to get rid of it, or just obviously don't bring it to the house. So from there, we just kind of sat outside, didn't know what to do. And then another cousin from my dad's side, he came, and at the time he was driving one of those Chrysler, the old school soccer mom vans, the Chrysler ones. He was driving one of those, and so I believe I was like 14 at the time, so he must have been, I want to say 22. And one of us, I can't remember who, got the bright idea. I'm like, hey, why don't we just play in the van? And it was getting dark already too. So we ended up going into his van. We talked to him. We see if he wanted to do it. He was all up for it. So I believe it was my cousin G who got the bright idea. Let's go play. There was a cemetery literally down the road, and he said, let's go play over there, right? Like if there was gonna be spirits, they could probably move the pointer. Stupid idea now that I think about it. But so we go on our way, we drive down the road, and we're in, like I said, we're in my cousin's van. So we park right next to the cemetery. We can't go in because they close the gates at night. So we just kind of park out by the main road, and we started playing, right? And I think we got it wrong for like I want to say maybe the first like 6 times. We were touching the pointer. You're not supposed to touch it. You're supposed to hold your fingers above it. So finally, I think one of my cousins was the one that got it right, and they start playing, and I'm not paying attention. I think I was messing with my cell phone at the time. I had just recently got like one of those track phones, and I was not paying too much attention, but I knew the board was answering questions for them, because they you hear them like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. So then I kind of get into it, and I start asking them like what has it answered, and they start just saying like where we're at, you got the town right, stuff like that. So for some reason I wanted to ask you a question, and this is where it was my first and last question, because it kind of freaked me out. So my question was, how much money do I have in my pockets? And when I tell you that I was positive I only had $5. I had a $5 bill, and I remember clearly I had a $5 bill. I don't remember anything else, like putting money in my pocket or anything like that. So you guys know where this is going. So I asked you, how much money do I have in my pocket? And it went up to the 5, and then it kept going, right? So it said 5, and then it went to a 2, and then a 5. So basically 525. I didn't have 525. I looked through all my pockets, and in my back pocket I had a quarter. I had 25 cents. So I obviously interpreted it as $5.25. So that's all it took, right? I got freaked out after that. I actually gave it to my cousin. I gave the board game to my cousin. I don't know what he ended up doing with it. I'm sure he told me, but I can't remember. But he ended up taking it, and that was the end of that. Nothing followed me home. I didn't hear anything at night or anything like that. But that was that one. All right, my second story was when I was in high school. Like I was living with my aunt. My parents weren't in the country at the time, so I was living with my aunt, and my aunt has 5 kids, but 3 of them are boys, and they're all. It goes from the youngest is a year older than me, and then so on and so forth. So the oldest one is like 3 years older than me, and basically it's a man's house, all those young men running around. So we would party a lot, and it's high school. So one night with my oldest cousin, he wanted to have a party for some reason, and he started inviting a bunch of people. And I remember all his friends showed up, and this girl showed up that I've never even seen before. Like she never came around. I've never seen her before. And I remember we were in the garage, and we were just having fun. And I remember out of nowhere, I think somehow we started talking about ghosts or something about that. And she brings up the Ouija board, and she asked us if like we played it. I remember telling her like the first story that I had, and I told her that, and then she's like, "Oh, I've had way more like scary situations happen than that." So she brought one out. She had one in her car, and when she brought it out, she's like, "Let's play." I remember looking at my cousin. I was like, "I mean, y'all can play. I'm good, right?" So this is, I ended up going up like to bed. I remember no, we weren't playing at the time. She wanted to play, but no one was like in the mood. And mind you, the board was like it looked brand new. So I went up to bed. That whole night I couldn't sleep. I like was tossing and turning, right, but I couldn't really hear them. Like they were usually really loud, but I couldn't hear them. So I'm like, oh, they probably all left. So then the next morning, my aunt, I could hear her like yelling, going upstairs, and she ends up going to my cousin's room first. But my cousin wasn't there. I don't know where he went. So she comes into my room, or the room that I had at the time, and she starts yelling at me, talking about like who played it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she brings out the Ouija board. But when I looked at it this time, it had red, it had like whoever was playing it with red candles on each like corner, because like all the candle wax was like just melted onto the board. So, and it was like red candles. So that kind of like threw me off, and I was like, all right, that's kind of weird. So I asked my cousin once he finally like came home. I'm like, hey, did you guys play it last night? And he said, yeah. He said the girl and one of his friends were playing it, and they basically the girl ran out, and so did the dude, but my cousin didn't know what happened, right? So what's weird was after this, my aunt's house is basically haunted. Something started like when because I think I lived there about a year and a half. No, sorry, it was 2 years, because it was the start of my junior and senior. So I was there like 2 years, and we would hear like toilets flush, like doors open or close. And I remember one time I was up in my room, and no one was home, and I could clearly hear the dishes, like someone was messing around with the dishes downstairs. And I was gonna go downstairs, but at the time I had a pit bull, and you know how pit bulls are. Well, my pit bull was scared to go downstairs. She didn't want to go downstairs. So when I saw that, obviously I'm not gonna go downstairs after seeing that. So I never found out, who or what was down there, but random stuff started happening in the house, which it could be a story for another time. But yeah, after playing that, so after that situation, I do believe that it probably does open up some sort of portal, and it's obviously not good, because still to this day, my aunt has stuff happening in the house. I remember she tried blessing it once when I was there. She had a priest come in, and I remember the spirit just got mad, or whatever was in there. It's there. But yeah, those are my two stories. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments if you guys had any situations like that. And yeah, keep sending your stories to the email. I'll read them off. Thank you. Have a good night, and be aware of your surroundings.